WWDC 2022 happened. We got software updates for everything except tvOS that got basically nothing. Okay, I'm not gonna do your our event coverage. This is gonna be a review of iOS 16 and macOS Ventura because I've been driving those. I'm also gonna throw in iPadOS 16. Even though I don't own an iPad, I still have some things to say.
Disclaimer, this is all beta software. Fast software might change, bugs might be fixed. Take all complaints with a grain of salt.
So, let's begin with iOS 16. We got some quality of life improvements, like haptic feedback in the keyboard, yes, and a better text selection pop-up that is now scrollable. I was starting to get seriously annoyed that I had to keep pressing the arrows to scroll long pop-ups. And about the keyboard, you can turn them on in the sound and haptic section on settings, and it's really brief, like it almost feels like a tap. I heard someone said the keyboard now felt more responsive, but it's probably due to the vibration happening before the refresh on the 60Hz display happens. Also, now the built-in iOS video player has controls that look more like YouTube's controls. With a handy shortcut that if you press on the middle of the screen, usually where the play button is, it pauses or plays the video instead of having to tap twice. But the big one, lock screen customization. It's great. Instead of swiping to left or widgets, just have the widgets. Although, we really need more widgets. If you're like me and you don't use stocks and fitness, you only have like 3 options. I really hope that third-party widgets happen because as it is, there's a lack of variety. Also, I'm not the only one to notice that it kinda looks like the always-on display on the Apple Watch with the complications. Processor?
These are clearly there. They are totally set up in a way to adapt to an always-on display. It's right there in front of our eyes. When the screen is off, it's these right here. It's those icons and widgets that will stay there. They're gonna remain there just as it works on Apple Watch.
If everything goes to plan, USB-C, always-on display, I might actually consider buying a Pro iPhone for the first time. But that's expected to be a thing next year, and by then I will have already upgraded to another phone. So stay tuned because in a couple of months it can happen. But anyway, lock screen customization was kind of disappointing. I didn't get to play with using different lock screens with widgets for a moment of the day, which is what I wanted from it. I really wish that it comes to be as fun to customize as the home screen. One thing that I need to address though is the fact that, as the rumors were saying in the past couple of years, the iPhone 6s and first generation SE got discontinued. But the iPhone 7 also got axed. Now, I haven't used a 6s or 7, so I can't really say how they were in iOS 15. But I do have the now older support device, the iPhone 8, and on iOS 16. I'm pretty sure that it's gonna be worse in the beta than the final release. In fact, I'm using beta 1, and just now, as I'm filming, beta 2 got released, and I still haven't tried out. I hope it's fixed.
Update, it's still bad.
But for now, it was kind of horrible. During most of the time that I've used it outdoors, it was thermal throttling. And it doesn't help with the fact that it's summer. Small tip to check if your iPhone is throttling. Crank up the brightness. If you see a small section that the brightness doesn't change, then it's throttling. It's the quarter or a half of the brightness slider that is kind of disabled. Well, doing literally anything can cause a phone to throttle. Using WhatsApp, watching YouTube videos, even playing Cut the Rope, the least demanding game that I've ever played, caused the app to crash because of how slow it was running.
Update, it happened again, but now with the settings app.
I've never had that happen before on an iPhone. Bartolev has been slightly worse, but you're used to that. You have an iPhone. Now let's talk macOS. Small changes are the iOS style series. The redesign, now named System Settings app, with section icons that feel not very macOS-like. Like this is macOS, this feels more like a Huawei phone. But the big feature is, of course, Stage Manager. Finally, a change in window management on a mainstream OS. Like, we've had the same old way of managing Windows since like Windows 2.0 and the Apple Lisa. And tile-based window managers have been reserved for nerds. Only nerds. It kinda works like how you use an iPad, that you only have one app at a time. Except when you add another one. But it doesn't fill the entire screen and it's, well, freeform. Like a Mac. It makes sense that it's also available on the iPad because it's the best of both worlds. But there's a problem. That's that macOS has frequently opening and closing windows all the time. I expected everything to work like on Dolphin. If you open a settings window, the main one doesn't disappear. But in the Finder, when you open a read-only file system like a DMG or an NTFS partition, it acts like it's a separate thing. And when you open a folder, the main one just disappears. I really hope they make it more consistent. Overall, I found it quite refreshing to have something like this. but I haven't used it all the time. When I'm moving through windows, I keep it off, while when I'm not doing anything, I keep it on. Now, let's briefly talk about the problems that I've had with macOS. Again, I haven't tried the beta 2, and I hope they're fixing there, but for now, I deem this computer to be unusable.
Update, it's fixed now.
One is the notification center breaking. Sometimes it works, but then there's a notification popping up, and then it just stays there for like 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. You try to click it away, but it just freezes. And it makes every other notification and the control center not show up, including calls. Two is the system failing to wake up from standby mode. Standby mode is kind of like hibernation on Windows. It activates after about 3 hours of sleep mode. It's basically a deep sleep mode, and you can notice that because the computer takes like 1 or 2 seconds to fully wake up. This is on my Intel Mac. When it went to standby mode, it would just die. Like, I would often find it completely dead, like the battery was empty. And when I plug it in, it would just not recover, not even after pressing the power button. The only way to fix it would be to hold the power button for 10 seconds, then press it again. I'm sure that at least someone else has had a panic attack, like I had when it first happened. Funny thing is that macOS doesn't really understand what's happening, because if I look at the battery panel in system settings, it just resets, like I've never used the Mac. Future me here. So I'm in the beta 2 of Ventura now, and I've actually been seeing that the battery graphs actually work now. As you can see, there's nothing in here, because when that problem happened, it would just reset. But now we can actually see a graph, and as expected, it's basically a battery drain. Like a constant battery drain. I have not touched this since about 6 p.m. as you can see, and in fact I don't even know what this is all about because I didn't even touch it. Power notifications. Before this, it was just basically flat until I used it again. I did leave Final Cut running on the background this time, but I've done this multiple times and the battery drain hasn't been that bad. Future me here. So it seems that it survived this night. That's a more usual battery drain that I see, which I'm not really drain. It is. Back to the video. Okay, now let's talk about iPadOS. Again, I don't have an iPad, but I'm gonna go off from what I get from videos. Unfortunately, we didn't get lock screen customizations, but there was something that all iPad laptop users have been dreaming for, and that is, like on macOS, Stage Manager. Not only we get sort of freeform windows, but you can now extend your desktop to another display. Before you can only mirror it, and since the iPad display is not 16:9, it's more square, you would have black bars on your display, and, well, wasted space. You can now have 2 monitors at the same time. That means that using an iPad as a computer isn't much of a, I'm using a tablet as a computer, and it's starting to become more of a real choice for pro users. Unfortunately, we didn't get pro apps like Final Cut, and stuff like Blender, Adobe apps, and most apps that pro use are probably never gonna come to the iPad. I have a wish. Some people said that this groundwork for next year when they finally introduce pro apps in the iPad. But I have a wish, and that is a macOS to iPadOS compatibility layer. This could be finally gets all pro apps over to the iPad. I know Apple can do it, but it's in their hands if they want to bridge the gap or leave the iPad as it is. An iPad with an external display, but still an iPad. Now, I want to talk about what I want for next year. On the iPhone, I don't ask for much, but on the iPad, I want that macOS compatibility thing, but at the very least, start loading apps. I want full independency from the Mac. You still need a Mac or Windows machine to sync music or like TV stuff onto the iPad or to an iPhone. I want Time Machine, not just the iCloud backups, full-on Time Machine, like recovering a deleted file and not having to pay for iCloud by the month. I want full USB support. I still can't use stuff like flash@android.com, which is a website to flash Pixel phones. Because if it doesn't have an App Store app, it does not get exposed to anything. And it wouldn't even work in Safari anyways. Also, you can't format external drives. Why? And finally, as I've been asking for a couple of years now, accent colors. About macOS? Well, not much. But I want them to start redesigning core system elements. The dock hasn't been touched in decades. The menu bar needs a fix. Launchpad is still weird and needs widgets. And the scroll wheel on the mouse is stupid, but whatever. I know Apple won't fix most of these issues, and the only thing we can do is hope. and wish that they listened to us. We did get the recent MacBook Pro and external monitors on iPad, so we still have a bit of hope. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, click the like button, and for more, click subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.